Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us with this week's program overview. I have the pleasure of being here with Ms. Dimbajek, the Department Chair for Humanities and Social Sciences. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to chat with you and get some burning questions answered today. So to kick us off, what exactly is humanities and social sciences, and what type of classes are students taking in your department?
Yeah, great question. Especially because our department encompasses so many different fields. So our humanities sides range everywhere from history courses, as well as looking at things like technology and society. That also encompasses our fine arts classes. So we have a number of theater courses. We have music appreciation and art history and art appreciation. And then on the other side, the social sciences, those are closely related to sort of what some people may call soft sciences. So, psychology classes, sociology classes, economics classes, those sort of disciplines that have a science background, but it also crosses over into those ways it's affecting the social areas or our society. And so that's why we call them the social sciences.
Oh, brilliant. I love that. It's cool to hear how to describe it, because usually, when I'm going down an evaluation, I'm just like, oh, these are the social science courses. So that's cool to think of them as soft sciences.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much. We know that these classes impact students across campus and every division and field. So what advice do you have on how students could be successful in these courses?
Absolutely. I think it's such a big question, so it's hard to give really specifics for all the courses. The two things I always recommend to students is one, do not be afraid to ask for help, and two, make sure you're doing the reading.
Oh, yes, that
Um,
reading is critical for sure in these fields.
yes, absolutely, and especially with our hybrid classes, our asynchronous classes, there's only so much time that the instructor gets with each student in class or with recorded lecture. So being able to get through the readings will really help you further dive into topics, get a better understanding of it. So it prepares you for that discussion board or that quiz or maybe even an essay.
Fantastic, thank you. And I know we don't have a lot of subject tutors necessarily in these fields, but do you have any guidance on like how students can increase their reading recall or their time management skills with these classes?
Yes, well, first and foremost, kind of like my first tip is you can always talk to your instructor. Your instructor is a great resource because they can speak specifically to the expectations of their course. So they should know their textbook inside and out, and they can give you some tips like, this is how I usually suggest students read and take notes. And they can probably also give you some great other pointers about how maybe their ebook works, some ways that you can highlight in the book, or maybe some additional videos that you can research. But a lot of these skills go back to actually what's called academic coaching, which we have a fantastic academic coaching department on campus. And a lot of those skills they can teach you, and it doesn't matter if it's history, psychology, math, those skills, yeah, they're specific to certain classes, but the big picture of those, it all comes down and they can help you with those.
Beautiful, thank you.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of students in these classes are planning to transfer. How do you see your courses preparing students for those bachelor's classes when they successfully transfer to their chosen school?
Yeah, I think it's looking at a lot of those skills that will apply to any class that you're ever going to take, no matter what your transfer degree is. So, working on some of those active reading skills, because especially as you get into 300 and 400 level classes, there's going to be even more reading on your plate. So, learning what reading style works best for you in which course is a great skill that you'll be able to hopefully start to develop a little bit more in our courses. Also things like active note taking. So figuring out what are those important things to take notes on, because that can be a difficult thing to learn how to do. Also, it helps with things like research, writing, a lot of those big skills that, like I said, it's going to apply to any class that you're in, whether you are in the humanities, in the social sciences, or if you're in the hard sciences like biology. No matter what field you're in, those are skills that you will need to be successful with as you move up in your bachelor's.
Absolutely. Even I have a business degree, and I feel like even those classes greatly prepared me for my final
Yeah.
courses, marketing research and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, so for those students that are in our technical fields and taking that technology and society or interpersonal psychology class, how do you see your courses preparing students for the career?
Yeah, I think again, big picture skills, but now we're thinking about those that really help to get you career ready. So those that would be things like interpersonal skills, giving you some ways to deal with your coworkers, with your supervisors, because those a lot of times are skills that we don't necessarily learn. It's something that it has to happen um, as you're going through day to day. And so things like Psychology 105 gives you that opportunity to start figuring out like how to work with people with different personalities. And with things like our humanities course, it also helps with things like critical thinking, as well as looking at and trying to identify like bigger pictures, looking at pros and cons. I'm what I call a gray area historian, that nothing is black and white. And that sort of course can help you start to see those things that very rarely are things polar opposites, and it helps to start to see you like, okay, where's this middle ground, and maybe help to work on things like compromise, which goes back to those interpersonal skills.
Oh, so cool. Sounds like an exciting class to be in.
It's very interesting. Some really great readings and discussions around things like AI, and especially that's so big right now, and it's blowing up. So a great opportunity to also like learn more about those technologies.
Oh, yes, that's so cool. Well, thinking about you being a gray area historian here, would you sharing a little bit about your personal educational journey and how you became a professor?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit of a winding story. I'm going to go back to when I was in third grade and I checked out a book about sharks from the library. And so my plan was to become a marine biologist studying sharks.
Cool.
I got to college and I realized my very first time scuba diving that I hated scuba diving and was not sure what I was going to do studying sharks if I wasn't able to scuba dive with them. So I said, well, I've always really been good at history, so let me try some history courses. And it was just, it clicked as soon as took my first history course. It's like, yep, this makes sense. So I was taking some history classes, got very excited about it. Also was taking some political science courses because usually you have to take those sort of electives and cognates as you move up if you're going to a bachelor's. So also got interested in some government work. So tried that a little bit after grad school, but then got a teaching job actually at my undergraduate school, and again fell in love with the opportunity to work with students to help them figure out like where they need some work, working with them, also just telling stories. And I think that's one of the reasons I love history is it's a story. It's not just names and dates, but getting to really see this progression of us as humans.
Beautiful. I love that. What a cool switch of careers and land on something that you were passionate about throughout your K-12 journey.
Yeah.
What other jobs, like I do have a lot of students that think they want to major in history, like aside from getting your master's and becoming a college professor or, teaching high school history, what other types of careers can you have as a historian?
Yeah, there's actually a lot out there because kind of going back to my earlier point, history is setting you up with a lot of skills, analytical skills, critical thinking, writing skills, research, that there's a lot of jobs out there. So one of my government jobs after college, as I mentioned, I was actually an intelligence analyst for the Postal Inspection Service. So a lot of those skills that you need, you can get from being a historian.
Oh,
Um, you could go to law school. So if you're interested in becoming a lawyer, a judge, maybe even if you're just interested in, clerk, serving as a clerk for a lawyer. But like I said, a lot of those skills that you get, they may not be specifically like hard data, but there are some history programs that do want you to get some of that quantitative statistical side. So just depending on which path you take as a historian, it really opens you up to a lot of different fields out there.
oh, amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And um, I think this is my last formal question. Do you have any tips for successfully transferring out of York Tech to the next destination?
Yeah, my first tip would be it's never too early to look into your transfer school and your intended program, because every school has different requirements. So one school maybe expects you to come in with some foreign language for your general education. Some schools don't require it.
Mm,
And so understanding those core classes that you would hopefully be taking at York Tech as you earn your associate's degree, that would save you time from having to potentially take extra courses to finish your general education, your core work when you transfer.
awesome.
And similar with actually with your programs, because some programs have, they want you to take very particular maths, they want you to take very particular sciences. So those would also be really important things to know because we have so many different courses here at York Tech that may fit and allow you to earn your associate's degree, but it may not be setting you up as successfully down the road as you transfer. So never too early to start looking into all those things. And then just also hopefully like start making those connections from day one once you go over there. Because one of the biggest things I see students experience when they transfer to a bigger school is they can start to feel a little lost because it's now a much bigger school, a much bigger student population. So start trying to find either students who have similar interests in you, joining clubs, organizations, maybe staying after class for one of your classes you're really enjoying and just chatting with your professor. So building those connections so that you can start really establishing yourself in that new school.
Oh, that's fantastic guidance. It definitely is good to be proactive in finding your people when you
Yeah,
get to your campus.
absolutely.
Do you have anything else that we didn't get to touch on in our questions or guidance that you'd like to share?
I think just going back to, always find the helpers, somebody that you feel comfortable asking for help because nobody has it all figured out. You're going to have to ask for help at some time. And even if, let's say, I'm your history instructor and you have an issue in math, I might not know the answer, but I can probably point you in the right direction. So just really never be afraid to reach out and ask someone for help.
Thank you. That is awesome. I really appreciate your time today, and I know students will enjoy your classes and your department's classes when they take them. So if you're planning on transferring and need help out there or just academic support in general, reach out to your instructor, like Ms. Dembajek said, or come see us in the advising center. We're located in the Learning Commons. Thank you again for your time today.
Thank y'all. Good luck, everyone.